Let me put you on game. Don't listen to people who lose or you'll do the same. Stop talking to people who don't give a f*** what you saying. Stop spending your money on weed, go hop on a plane. Stop pointing the finger.
All right, well, welcome to our first episode. We are here with our guest, Brenden Craft from American Family Insurance. I've known Brenden for probably 4 years? 2019, yeah. So going on 4 years. Yeah. Super impressed with Brenden. We kind of both got into different industries at the same time. And so we've kind of been watching each other grow over the last few years. And so I kind of wanted to bring him on. I know a little bit about his story, but I want you guys to find out a little bit more about his story and what's made him successful, because I do think that you are running a successful business right now. So
thanks. Appreciate that.
So where did everything start? You know, where did you grow up? Where did your career start? And then how did you get to where you are now?
Okay. So I grew up here in Idaho Falls.
Yeah.
I've been here since 2005, I think.
Okay.
Right around there. So I've been here for pretty much my entire life, other than, early elementary school.
Where were you then?
Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved here from Oregon.
Is that where you were born? Oregon?
No, I was born in Montana, actually.
Oh, okay. Montana. See, I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
Montana to Oregon to Idaho?
Not very often you see a black dude born in Montana, right? So, but so I was born in Montana, lived in Oregon for a while, and then my parents moved us here. And
just for work or what?
Yeah, for work.
Okay.
For the longest time, I hated it here.
Yeah.
And now I'm older, I kind of understand that why my parents moved us here, but
for sure.
For the longest time, I did pretty good in school in Oregon, and then moving here, like Idaho school and Oregon school are
completely different.
Yeah. And so I was immediately behind on school, struggled, hated school, and really honestly struggled through middle school, high school.
Yeah.
And is really the reason I'm in insurance and I didn't go to college, for something specific, just because school's just never been my thing since moving here.
And it was probably a culture shock. I mean, I guess you were pretty young, so maybe not totally a culture shock, but what part of Oregon were you guys in?
Central okay. Oregon. And the town I was in was, just like here.
Yeah.
People here are definitely a little different. Just the community here is way different than most communities, small communities. But I've learned to come to love it, and I enjoy it here. I love, being in the community and helping people in the community. And, if I would have a conversation with my younger self, my 15, 16-year-old self, there's no way he would believe me that we would be at where we're at now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Cool to think about, though.
It is.
It's like going back to, in high school here, struggling with school and stuff. Yeah. I didn't necessarily struggle with school. I did okay. I just didn't love school. Part of me was like, I did go to college for a little bit. In high school, when you're born and raised here and you go into high school here, you very rarely think you're going to stay here. You're like, as soon as I graduate, I am out of here. But like you said, as you get older, you kind of do appreciate some of the things that we take for granted here in our little community. It's like going to college in Arizona is like, that was a culture shock, being in Phoenix and all the things that come around, living in a bigger city that we didn't realize. And so, but coming back, it's like, you definitely appreciate the community that we have here.
Yeah.
So
very unique for sure.
What was your plan in high school? Like, what did you want to do? What was your plan when you were graduating?
So, my grandma wanted me to go to college. Yep. So I did go to college for a while, and I was actually planning on being a physical therapist. So
okay.
I was studying, all my generals and stuff, and and then I got a sales job. A couple of my now really good friends plucked me out of Fuji here in Idaho Falls. I was a waiter there. Plucked me out of there and put me into a sales position. And my first full month on commission, I made more money than I have ever made. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna still keep going to school.
Yeah.
But then, 4 or 5 months later, I got promoted and became a store manager at that place. And then I started making stupid money.
Yeah.
Like for me,
Yeah.
at that point, early 20s guy, you're making 60, 70 grand. You're just like,
what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I started getting busier with work.
Yeah.
And I started looking at what does a physical therapist make out of school?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know this, but it's a doctorate, which you get doctorate debt to make not six figures unless you're on your own or have some experience, right? Starting wage is like 80, 90K.
You're already making that.
Yeah. And so I was like, man, screw this. So I was like, I stopped going to school.
What age did you take that first sales job?
I was like 23.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. 23.
In what industry?
Phone sales, Verizon.
Okay.
Worked at Verizon.
Cool. So you started at Verizon, worked your way up. You're making $70K a year.
Yep.
Okay. What's your growth plan? What do you want to do from there?
So, man, I didn't really have one.
Yeah.
So my journey into insurance is actually probably not the greatest journey into being self-employed.
Yeah.
Right. I've had really, really good leaders and I've had really, really bad leaders in my life. And my person I reported to, him and I, just great guy. We get along outside of work and stuff, but in work, just two totally different people. And we would just butt heads constantly. Yeah. And it wasn't good for him, wasn't good for me. And so I had this really good friend who was doing supplemental insurance, like business to business sales.
Okay.
And he's like, man, you should look into this. I think you'd be good at it. And I was like, okay. And that was like probably 6 months before I actually decided to quit. And then, some stuff happened at work and I was like, you know what? I don't want to work for anybody anymore. This is one, I was about ready to have my son.
Yeah.
Right. And I was looking at how many hours I was working and I had no control over what, things I could do. And I could barely go to, doctor's appointments with Dahlia, and I was just like, man, I think I need to figure something else out. And so I talked to my buddy a little bit more about it, and just jumped right in. Quit before I had my license, which was wild. So I didn't even have my license yet, and I was just didn't have a job.
Yeah,
so didn't have a job.
About to have a kid.
2 months out from having having our kid, having our son, and now I think of that now, and I'm like, that was freaking crazy. Yeah, like what the hell was I thinking?
But it probably put your back against the wall.
Oh yeah,
forced you to decide, especially going into a new industry. It's like it's do or die. It's you have to succeed.
Yeah, that year was probably the wildest year of my life. Like
really,
we got pregnant, bought a house. I was making really good money. Went to making zero money 2 months out. Having to figure out how to pay our mortgage and pay our stuff. And
so you'd already bought the house prior to quitting.
Yeah, we bought the house in June, and I quit in October.
Oh man, so you got a mortgage, you got a kid on the way. How did that year end? Like, what did you end up doing your first year in insurance?
First year in insurance, I think I did made like 50 or 60K. Okay. So I ended up making less my first year. Yeah. But less than I was making at Verizon. My last year at Verizon, when I left in October, I think I made like 80K. Okay. And still had 2 months left.
So that's a significant decrease from 80 to 50.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
But I did not care.
Yeah.
Not having a boss was great. It took me a little while to understand that, to learn how to hold myself accountable. Oh, yeah. When you have a boss or a direct manager that is consistently holding you accountable, you kind of lose sight of how you do that yourself.
For sure.
So my first year, I probably didn't work as hard as I needed to. And my second year, I did significantly more than that. Yeah. And, but I had a great group of guys that I was working with that, that helped me. They taught me how to do, everything I needed to do. And that year it was great, man. It was a great year. I qualified for a couple trips.
That's cool.
Went on some trips with that team, and it was great.
Sometimes you get did you think you were going to make less money making the transition?
I didn't think that, but I honestly just didn't care. Yeah. I just had a very powerful why on why I wanted to not work for someone anymore. One, it wasn't a good environment for me. And then two, I was working so much, I was working the weekends. and I wanted to be there for my son. And I was able to take off the last 3 weeks of that year when he was born.
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't have quit, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I maybe would have been able to take off the day he was born. Yeah. And then back to work the next day.
So there was other factors. It wasn't just the money potential that you were seeking. And that's where it's like, that's what you almost need, additional factors when you're making a transition like that. It's like, because at the end of the day, even if you knew you were going to make less, you were going to be okay with it. Yeah. So you're like, I just don't want to deal with this structure anymore. So I'm going to go pursue this. And that actually led to you making more than you ever did at Verizon, right? That second year. Okay. So, and take us from there. What happened? So you're 2 years.
2 years in
supplemental insurance.
Yeah. Okay. 2 years in. And I haven't told very many people this part of the story, but in 2018 was basically my first full year. One of my really good friends was doing insurance with American Family Insurance. Yeah. And we hung out one day and he's like, dude, like, I think you should look at becoming an agency owner with American Family Insurance. So this was in 2018.
Okay. And
I was like, okay, I'll consider it. And I started talking to the guy who hires all the agents here.
Yeah.
I talked to him for a while. We talked on and off for about a year. And then in 2019, I got handed a bunch of accounts with the company that I was working with. And I was like, you know what? I don't think this is a good move. I don't think I should leave this right now. And so I stayed. I told, the district guy, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to just stay where I'm at for now.
Okay.
And then just kept chugging along. And, 2019 was a great.
That company unknowingly kind of put some golden handcuffs on you because they just.
Yeah.
just threw you some business.
They did. And it was great, man. And honestly, sometimes I wish I would have stayed because, that company was a great company. I was working with two studs that, really kind of helped mold me into the person I am.
For sure. Yeah.
And, but, 2020, we all know about 2020.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And, COVID hits.
Yeah. So in February of 2020, my buddy that was doing American Family, he's basically like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. Do you want to come take over for me and start, and take over my business? And I was like, let me think about it. I thought about it. I started talking to the district guy again. And then I decided that was the right thing for me to do.
Yeah.
And then a month later, March 25th or whatever, the governor was like, hey, we're shutting everything down. COVID is a serious thing. And that was like my first day with American Family Insurance. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, what did I do? What kind of,
welcome to being a business owner, right?
Yeah. So that was probably 45 days. Cause it was really only serious here as far as like shutdowns for the month of April.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then into May. So that first little while I was like, holy crap.
What did I just do?
Yeah. So, basically what I did is, the office, I took over a small book, right?
Yeah.
But the office phones didn't ring, right? Because no one wanted to talk about insurance.
Yeah.
And so, I basically just used that time to learn the systems, call all of my friends and family and started quoting them, and, learn, that month I basically learned all the systems. So I was proficient in them. And then May was really my first really good month. And then I've kind of been pretty consistent since then.
So if anything, it could have been, really, it could have been a blessing.
COVID
had that.
COVID was definitely a blessing. And way, for me, as business wise, more than anyone will really ever know, right?
For sure. Gave you a whole month or a little bit longer to basically not be bombarded with, a bunch of the other business side of things.
Yep, exactly.
Because you were kind of just thrown into the fire.
Pretty much.
Figure this out.
Yeah, and usually, and I don't know if they do this now because it's been almost 3 years since I started, but usually they'll send you to Wisconsin and you go through this orientation. I did everything over Zoom.
Yeah.
I didn't meet with any corporate people in person until last year.
Wow.
So, almost 2
years in the
other
business,
than my district guy because he lives here in Idaho Falls, so I met with him.
For sure.
Every once in a while, but that was very, very interesting. I just had to learn literally everything on the fly, which was okay, and Dahlia is she's like, I told her, I was like, I'm going to do this. I think this is the best option for our family. And she's like, okay. Didn't second guess me. And I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, man, sometimes I wish you would second guess me so I think through these decisions more, because when I left Verizon,
yeah,
I told her, I was like, I'm doing this, and I feel like this is what I need to do. She's like, okay, no second guessing. I'm just like, I don't have a job right now. You know that, right? Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm just like, all right.
Part of that, I mean, I think it's a good thing, because it's like there's a lot of guys out there that they tell their wife they want to leave an industry or try something new. They're like, I don't know about that. Like, how are we going to pay the bills? And they put all the stress on you. But for her to be like, go for it. It's cool, but it also shows that she believes in you.
Yeah, that's true.
I know you'll figure it out. So whatever you want to do, go figure it out.
Yep.
So that's a testament to maybe your work ethic that she sees. That's cool.
Yeah, maybe. Or she's just as crazy as I am.
She's just like, yeah, whatever. She's like, if I have to pick up the load, I will.
Yeah, exactly.
No. So you've been in the industry. So insurance for 3 years.
So I've been in insurance now since 2017.
Okay. Supplemental, then American Family for the last.
Yeah, so it'll be 3 years in March.
Okay.
March of this year.
What was the book of business when you took over? What did that look like?
So it was like 800 or so policies and about 800,000 in premium.
Okay.
Right around there.
What have you been able to do with it over the last 2 years?
We finished, we basically have grown by like 30% every year since I started. We finished at like almost 1.6 million for December.
Wow.
And then we're like at almost 2,100 policies. So we've pretty much doubled.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's been wild.
That's awesome. What do you like? What do you think the driver is there? Like, what have you done differently?
I don't know if I've done anything differently, but one thing, I guess really the only thing I could say is I've been really consistent.
Yeah.
Right. So when I came into this business, just like you said at the beginning, you and I started relatively same time, right? And right when I was getting into that is when we started becoming really good friends, right?
Sure.
So really, like, I just leveraged knowing you, right? Yeah. Leveraged the people that you knew, leveraged where I was, where my office was at.
Yep.
And just started making relationships with people in real estate. And as everybody knows, the last 2-3 years in real estate, it's been absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So I've really kind of just ridden that wave with real estate agents.
For sure.
The influx of people moving here, I just got out and networked with real estate agents and mortgage lenders, and they've just kind of referred me people over the last 3 years, and that's been the bulk of my business over the last little
referrals.
While. Referrals,
yeah. Well, you're obviously I know a little bit about your business. You're my insurance agent, so. Yeah. But one thing I think that you don't give yourself enough credit for that I think you do differently is you are like one of the best I was going to say network marketer, but just
networker.
You're one of the best networkers I know. It's like Brendan's at the Chamber of Commerce event. He's at this people's meeting. He's over here doing this. It's like you're just super involved with the community. I need to get better at that. Like, I look at you and I'm like, man, I'm not doing anything like networking like Brenden is. He knows everybody, which is huge in your business. It's like your whole business can thrive. Mine too can thrive off of referral business.
Yeah.
It's like you just need to get out there and network, and that doesn't cost you anything.
No, it doesn't.
There's like so many agents that are like, branding their vehicles and, putting ads out there and doing all this stuff. And it's like, man, if they would just go like meet people, they might double their business. Like that's been your focus. Exactly. Have you guys spent any money on like essentially marketing other than,
I've spent a little bit of money like on, like internet leads and stuff for employees. Nothing for me, nothing that I've personally used. And then I do like Google ads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But not really. Really the money that I spend is like, to join some of these groups, right? And I probably should start spending more money on marketing.
Yeah.
Because, I networking is great, but you have to have multiple revenue, multiple streams of marketing, right?
Yeah.
And really, the majority of my business just comes from the referrals from marketing and networking and stuff. So, but networking has by far been the biggest thing that I've done, and it's really the only thing that I've stayed consistent at.
That's the biggest thing is like, because I agree, you do need a lot of different streams or flow of leads coming in. But I'm a big proponent of like figure something out and like go all in on that.
Yeah.
It's like, and for you, it might be like, networking is your all in thing. Maybe you just need to hire an additional insurance rep that can focus on like Facebook and, social media marketing and stuff.
Yep.
Cause I think like if you just focused on network marketing, like that's all your time, that's all you did, you'd probably double your business again. Like,
yeah, that's true.
If you just had people in the office and you were just out every single day, networking with people, you'd probably grow. Other than like trying to spread a bunch, like, oh, let me try Facebook leads. Let me try Instagram leads. Let me try TikTok. It's like, I've watched agents do that in the industry, and it's like, they're just, shotgun approach. They're just trying everything. It's like, but they don't have one thing that they're actually like, is their bread and butter. Yeah. It's like, if you can have a bread and butter, then kind of venture off and figure out some other things, but it's like nail something. And I feel like you've done that. You've nailed your networking.
Yeah. So, and I honestly have no idea how I even stumbled on that, really, and especially when I started during COVID, there was, my first networking meeting I ever was a part of was this group called the Idaho Falls BNG. Shout out to the Idaho Falls BNG.
Yeah.
But
what is it? What is it?
So it's just a networking group. It's basically like BNI, but better than BNI.
Okay.
Cheaper than BNI, and the people in there are great. They're great people. But my first meeting, I think it was in April of 2020 or May of 2020. It was via Zoom. So I had to go on Zoom with all these people. I knew one person.
Yeah.
But all those people, I had no idea who they were, and just tell everybody, basically give a 60-second elevator pitch on my business.
Yeah.
That I was really had no idea what my business was at that point. I was brand new, right? And so I've been pretty religiously going to that group for since I started. But I started that, and I was like, okay, what else can I join? And then a couple months later, I joined the Chamber of Commerce, right? And then I started.
Which you won an award of this last year?
Small Business of the Year.
That's huge, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Unexpected for sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
That was awesome.
But it was awesome. But so I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and then I kind of just had this mentality in 2021 is really when I started doing this pretty heavily, is just never not having a lunch appointment every day. So I would go to eat with somebody of influence in my business, whether it's a realtor, a lender, or somebody that I potentially want to do business with, every day. And so I would go to lunch every single day, gained a ton of weight by doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're just eating out every day. That and joining some of these groups is probably, and staying consistent with it. Yeah. I did it. I've been doing that now for 2 full years. I go to lunch pretty much every single day.
Oh, I know.
With somebody.
I can't go to lunch with you unless I plan it. Exactly. You're like, oh, I already got a lunch plan. I'm like,
You gotta give me.
And I'm the opposite. I'm like, let's not plan. Let's just do it spontaneously.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been doing that now for 2 years, and I've been a part of pretty much every group within the chamber. I'm an ambassador, so I go to all of their ribbon cuttings that they do.
Yep.
I'm on their board now.
Wow.
Which has been an awesome experience to be a part of. And I've learned a ton from the people that I've met through the chamber. I've hired an employee from the chamber.
Oh, really?
I've hired 2 employees from connections through the chamber. Really.
That's awesome.
And so the chamber, I think, is probably the biggest, my best networking community that I'm a part of.
Yeah. It's not just that you're a part of it. You're consistent and you're involved in it.
I go to everything that they have. Yeah.
There's a difference. There's a difference between like being a part of something and actually being involved in something.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a big proponent because there's a ton of people that are members of the chamber.
That's true. Yeah, you got and you could be a member of anything, but if you're not actually showing up, and I see a lot of people that go to these networking groups that they show up to them, and a lot of them are in lunch format, right? Yeah. So you go to a lunch and then you sit at a table. A lot of people will sit at a table with people they know already.
Yeah,
which is fine, right? Catching up with with people. Yeah, that's great to do every once in a while. But the reason I go to those is to meet new people.
100%.
So I almost will always try to sit at a table with at least 2 or 3 people that I have never met before.
Yeah,
which is and really is the biggest reason you want to be a part of these.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there, right? Like you have to meet them.
Yeah.
That's where you meet them.
Yep.
But then you have to get them alone in a one-on-one meeting to even get to know them. Right.
Yeah. So you're going to these, you're probably sitting at a new table, scheduling a lunch with all the new people that you meet for your next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the biggest thing is like you can meet them there, but you need a touch point to like actually get to know them after.
Yep, exactly.
That's smart.
So
I mean, that's such a simple thing, like to start out with that costs you no money. Starting into a new business. What's one thing I can do every single day? I'm not going to go to lunch by myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to lunch with somebody that I want to be in business with or I want to try to get a relationship with.
Yep, exactly.
That's huge.
Yep.
Any business could do that.
And it is easy to do that. The lunch part is easy. I think the hardest part for people is that first initial step of sitting at a table with 4 or 5 other people that they've never met before.
Oh, yeah.
And then getting up the courage to say, hey, would you like to go to lunch sometime? You know?
Yeah. It's
very awkward to do it when you first start.
Yeah.
But
some can lead to awkward lunches, I'm sure.
Yep. And I've had awkward lunches, that you're going to have them.
Yeah.
But the majority of them are great.
Yeah.
And I've made tons of awesome friends, from going to lunch with people.
For sure.
And have gained clients. Some people still haven't used me for any services that I offer or anything like that, which honestly is totally fine. People will come to you when they're ready.
Yeah. And if they haven't, it's like, but they mention you to somebody else.
Exactly.
That's the key thing is like, I have so many clients that may have never bought a home from me, but they've referred me to other people that have bought a home with us.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't be so focused on whether that person's done business with you or not yet, but what potential does that relationship have for your business down the road? Like what's the lifetime benefit of that relationship?
Yep.
That's what's interesting. And that's, and you're kind of hitting you're probably frequently like going to the same kind of restaurants because you're going to lunch every day.
Longhorn, go to Longhorn like 90% of the time.
But that's a good business thing too, like frequently going to the same places. So those people get to know you.
Yeah, they know me.
What do you do?
They know me by
Brenden.
name there.
Yeah, see? It's another added benefit that it's like you're not doing anything extra. And it's like going to lunch, it costs you going to lunch every day. But it's
marketing.
Yeah, it's an expense. And so it's like, it's just such an easy thing that people could do that I think so many people are scared of because it puts you out of your comfort zone. A lot of people don't want to go to lunch with somebody that they don't know.
Yep.
But when you're in a sales industry, that's your job.
Exactly.
Your job is to have, communication with people you don't know to try to offer your services.
In my opinion, there's two ways that you can be successful in sales.
Yeah.
You can either do what I'm doing and network and make that your job to be basically a networker, or you can sit in an office all day and just make cold calls.
Yep. Robotic.
I don't know about you, man. I would much rather be out of the office, getting some sun, eating good food, and getting to know people, or just calling Bill at his job and then he hangs up on you and tells you to F off.
Yeah.
You're like I don't want to do that.
Doing that for 2 years straight, you're definitely not going to love the industry.
No, you'll burn out.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Which you can burn out in networking. I think you and I had this conversation just the other day about how I feel like I network too much and I don't. Sometimes it burns me out.
Yeah.
But I think you would burn out way faster if you are just sitting in an office and making phone calls.
For sure. And that's something to kind of touch on too. A lot of people don't realize that sometimes when you have to be outgoing for your job. You get home and you're kind of just like a recluse and you're just like, I don't want to talk to anybody right now.
Exactly.
I just want to break.
Yeah.
Cause I get that way too. It's like I'll get hundreds of calls, text messages every single day. Got to talk to people, got to be excited, got to be happy. Sometimes when you get home, you're just like, I don't want to go anywhere. Friends want to go out. I don't want to go out.
Yep.
We got like a little group of friends that like, we're just all kind of homebodies after like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Hey, should we just order dinner and hang out at the house? Like, because we don't want to go out and do anything.
I feel like that's just adulting though.
Yeah.
We're just in the stage of
life. That's true.
We don't want to go out and be in public.
Yeah.
During, because we're already in public every single day, all day long.
Yeah.
And so it's not like most people go to their job and then they're in their job for 8 hours and then they go home. Me and you our job is to be out in the community.
Yeah.
So we're already out in the community.
Socializing. Yeah.
So our socializing doesn't need to happen after hours.
That's a good way to think about it. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah. It's like our job, and I tell agents this, it's like, if you guys want to close more deals, go make more friends. Like, your job is to make friends. And that's exactly what you've been doing. It's like, where do you make friends? You go to these events, you meet new people, you take them to lunch, you figure out, you get to learn more about them. They get to learn more about you. You build a connection. And what a better way to build a connection than like breaking bread together and eating, like that's like a way back in history. There's some kind of bond there that when you break bread with somebody or you eat with somebody, it strengthens that relationship. So I think it's a great idea. What's been your top 3, top 5 things that you've learned owning your own business in the last 2 years?
Man, top 1 is employees are going to make or break you.
Yeah.
Employees are tough.
Yep.
I've been very fortunate to have hired, a couple really good ones, but I've also had some that were not very good.
Pan out. Yep.
But so employees, that'd be number 1. Number 2 is just what we've been talking about is, staying consistent.
For sure.
Not flip-flopping to something, all the time. You got to stay consistent in whatever it is you're doing. If it's marketing, if it's how you hire employees, how you fire employees, how you manage employees, like whatever it is you're doing, you got to be consistent. And then the third thing is, when one thing I probably have not done enough of, and you give me crap about this all the time, is, man, I need to take more time off.
Yeah, 100%.
Taking time off from your job, even if it's just taking a Friday off every once in a while, and actually taking it off, like don't work.
Yeah.
Very, very hard for me to do, and I took a week off for the first time last year for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And even though I took it off, I was still answering phone calls. I was still answering emails, and so, which is, you got to do. Right?
You have to. Yeah.
But I think those are the top 3 things.
And on that, I kind of want to touch a little bit, go deeper into some of those, but on the whole vacationing thing and taking some time off, it's like, and don't get me wrong, I still am on the phone and I still do stuff while I'm on vacation or away. But a lot of people don't recognize the recharge that'll give you, taking a week, even just a weekend, 3 days. It's like I work 7 days a week. People want to see houses every single day of the week. It doesn't matter what, what's going on. For me to get away for a weekend to recharge is going to allow me to do, I'm going to be happier. Yep. I'm going to help my clients more. I'm going to be re-energized to get up and get after it. Like that's good for my business. And I know we've talked about this. One thing I can commend you on is that you are, when we say focus, you focus, like you're focused. You had some goals. You're like, when you first got into the business, you're like, I'm not taking a day off for the next year. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. I didn't really take a day off for the first really 2.5 years. Cause the first time I took, the only time I've ever taken a day off is like, and I didn't do this at all my first year. So 2020, I worked Memorial Day and I worked Labor Day, I worked all those days.
I remember. You taking the day off? No.
I'm going in. And which, was probably not the best thing to do, but, I got a lot done. And those are the days when your phone doesn't ring, right? 'Cause everybody else has got other stuff to do.
Well, those days add up. Like over a year, it's like how much time did you have? How much more time did you have working on your business or in your business than those people that took 4 weeks off throughout the year? That's 4 weeks. Yeah, you can do a lot in 4 weeks. So, I think starting out, it was something that you made an agreement with yourself and you held yourself to it. I think there's a lot of value in that, aside from the benefits of taking a vacation. But so I think that's really good. What's your what have you learned throughout the hiring process of employees? Because that's something that I think a ton of business owners struggle with. Obviously, like we hire people too, and even from an agent perspective, that's something that we struggle with too. Like, are they a good fit for us? I don't know. So what do you look for in that hiring process?
So I think the most important thing you can do is do exactly what you do for sales. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is network and get referrals.
Yeah.
If you are relying on things like Indeed or, posting things on Facebook, you are going to get crap people.
Yeah.
And obviously the last 2 years, 2-3 years, there's been a, hiring frenzy.
Yeah. It's been hard. Yeah. You can't find good.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to find people, but, anybody that I would call and schedule interviews with that I got on Indeed were crappy.
Yeah.
Or they just didn't show up to interviews. Right. And so I think the most important thing you can do is just network and ask people for referrals. Hey, do you know anybody looking for a job? Most people know someone looking for a job. And when someone is putting their name on the line for someone else, it's a lot, that person that you're bringing on is more willing to succeed because they don't want to let you down and the person that referred them to you.
100%.
So I'd say that's probably the best thing you can do is just network.
And when you get that, like, you know, I've had, you know, when we've talked about, we need somebody to fill a position or something and somebody's like, oh, I know this person's looking for a job, but they'll start thinking about it real quick because they're putting their name on the line and they're going to tell you real fast. Like, actually, I don't know if they're going to be a good fit. They lack this or they lack that. It's like, I wouldn't have that perspective if I was just unless I was like a great interviewer and had all the great questions, which I don't.
Yeah.
It's like, I would never know certain things about somebody, but they have a different perspective because they know them through other avenues. Mm-hmm. So it's like, they can kind of share like, well, maybe she'd be a good fit, but you know, she does this or he or she does, you know, they're not very good at that or that. And I might be like, oh, that's fine. Cause I don't really care about that or they don't need that for the job.
Yep.
But there's some things where they mention it. You're like, yeah, then they won't be a good fit, even though they would maybe like the job. I know something that they lack that I'm like, I'm probably not going to be able to break that. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to be a good fit. So I think that's, you know, if you can find referrals for employees that you're looking to hire, it's probably the best thing for your business.
100%.
Yeah. That's cool. I just kind of want to end it with one tip you want to share with people that might be looking to get into the, you know, insurance business, looking to start their own business, looking to scale their business. What's like one tip you can give?
I think the tip that I would give anybody, especially for insurance, is really your first 5 years are very important. And really like
I think that's in anything.
Any business, you really shouldn't be taking a ton of time off. You should be working 50, 60 hours a week. And you need to hone in on your craft, right?
Yep.
Make that your expertise and you really need to be really, really good at it for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
And then in insurance, and I think in any business, you need to be, you need to start hiring really before you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Which is
hard to do.
Really hard to do, especially when you're already not making a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
Like thinking about paying $3,000-$4,000 or whatever a month out to somebody else is hard, but you're going to burn out if you don't do it. Yep. And you're going to slow your growth if you don't do it because you can only do so much.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, don't be afraid to just chill. You know, if you have a crap day, which in insurance and real estate and, you know, everything, don't be afraid to just be like, holy crap, today sucked. I'm going home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to have some type of outlet. For me, and you know this, I go to the gym every single day.
Yep.
If I did not do that, I don't know if I would be still here because there's a lot of frustrating days, and and the gym has been pivotal in me having something to get out frustration, to get out anger, you know, any emotion that I need to just get rid of.
Yeah.
You know, that's been probably those would be the top three things I would recommend.
On a hard day, you know, having a gym or an outlet like that you can go and no matter how tough the day was, maybe you didn't progress in your business, but you can go to the gym and feel like you're progressing yourself.
Yep.
There's so much value in that. And you're somebody I look up to for the gym. It's like, man, you are consistent. I can be consistent at business and stuff, but you know, I'm still figuring the whole consistent at the gym thing. And
bro,
you've been a great person to want to emulate.
Yeah.
Watching your growth in the gym and stuff.
Get you in the gym, buddy.
I know. 2023 is the year. We're going to be in the gym. I went this morning. So, but no, that's super cool. And I couldn't agree more with that. The first tip, 5 years. That's so true in any industry.
Yeah.
It's like your first 5 years, you guys should not be thinking about making crazy money if you haven't been in the business for 5 years. Like,
and if you are making crazy money, you don't go out and buy brand new stuff. Like you need to invest that in your business.
100%.
You've got a ton of cash flow. You need to bring on an additional person so that you can grow that cash flow.
100%.
That is what I feel is the downfall of a lot of people. Is they start making a ton of money and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go buy a new truck. I can afford it now. Or I'm gonna upgrade my house, or I'm gonna buy a boat. And you and I both know the economy now is way different, and it's going to be different for a while, right?
100%.
And the people that didn't do that stuff, didn't buy boats, and didn't overextend themselves the last couple of years, are going to be positioned for success and to gain market share.
It's where the growth happens.
100%.
Growth happens in a down market. It's like those that were smart, took advantage of the last few years, put money aside or reinvested into their business. It's like we've spent a lot of money reinvesting in our business the last few years. It's like we could have kept a lot more profits, but it's like we decided to invest those because we want to grow. So I think right now we've got a really good team. As this kind of thing shakes out, I think it's going to be a big opportunity for us to gain more and more market share. But I was at a conference once and somebody said that they're like, the biggest problem with a lot of business owners is one, they either don't have enough profit or they leave too much profit. Like they take away too much profit from their business. They're either not creating enough profit for their business, and obviously so they don't have cash flow, or they're creating too much cash flow and they're not reinvesting into their business. And I see that. I mean, being in a small town, you actually see that a lot. And you look at some of these business owners who don't have anything set up for their business, but they've got, a ton of cash. It's like, wait a second, you need to reinvest so you can grow. But a lot of people don't look at the long-term thing because they're not thinking 5 years. A lot of people have such a short-term focus. They're like, oh, this is a great year, so one, I'm going to stock everything away. Or, oh, short-term focus, like, oh, this is a great year, I'm going to spend all my money because I'll do it again next year, kind of thing. It's like there's a happy medium where you got to be able to take as much you can out of the year and reinvest enough into your business that you can grow, but also be saving enough so that you can take advantage of opportunities that come across the market. So,
and I say 5 years, because that was the advice I was given by really successful, agents in insurance. There's, don't be afraid to ask other agents. If you see someone that seems like they're successful, ask them. Almost every single insurance agent is going to tell you the first 5 years suck. Like they're not fun because it's a huge learning curve. Learning insurance is probably one of the hardest things to do because insurance companies like to change rules. They like to hide things in their policy language that you have to literally learn what that stuff means so you can educate people on it. And so it takes a long time to learn, takes a long time to gain a name in your community, for people to want to call you for insurance or real estate or whatever. And then it takes time to build your book up to where you're making money, to where you can hire people, to where you can grow. And then honestly, after 5 years, I don't think any of that really stops. You have to keep reinvesting into your business, and then you have to keep bringing on good people so that you can keep getting to that next level. Agreed.
So wherever you're at in business, 5 years, give yourself 5 years and see where you're at. It's not going to happen today. It could happen year one. It could happen year two, but like give yourself 5 years because you could be struggling the first 4 years. And then year 5, it's like everything is just, you figured it out and you have a huge growth here. It's like, I always say, it's like you're 1 year away from changing your life. Like financially, like if you can have one really good year and you figure things out and you're smart, then you can change how your life is going to end up. So stay focused, take your time, give yourself 5 years and maybe take a vacation.
Stay consistent.
And stay consistent.
Stay consistent.
Yeah, there's a lot of good golden nuggets in here. So, but that's what this podcast is for. We're on, I'm going to say it, the pursuit of wealth. If you guys know anybody that's in business, that is growing their business, that you think we should talk to, please let us know. We'd love to get some more guests lined up. So thanks for coming on, Brenden. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks for having me. Don't listen to people who lose or you'll do the same. Stop talking to people who don't give a fuck what you saying. Stop spending your money on weed, go hop on a plane. Stop pointing the finger and start taking some of the blame. Let me put you on game. Control your emotions. Most of the time, it's really not worth it. Don't be ashamed and beat yourself up for not being perfect.